Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Welcome to this third event in the series UN Careers live stream for universities. Some career webinars for you for specifically current and recent alumni and current university students. My name is Christina Sarban. I am an associate officer in the Staffing, Diversity, and Outreach section with the UN Secretariat in New York City, and working on various talent outreach and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives as they relate to talent management. I'm joined by a wonderful team today who will introduce themselves as they talk to you about various topics we have lined up. You can see our agenda here on the slide in front of you. And I would also like to start out just with thanks to you all for being here with us, and to many thanks to our colleagues around the globe who came together to make this happen today. So the next hour offers you an exciting opportunity to learn more about the United Nations and to gain valuable insight into the process of becoming a competitive applicant. As you can see, we will provide you an overview of various entry points to a UN career, including internships, the Young Professionals Program, also known as the YPP, as well as other programs that we have available and you might find interesting and relevant. The Junior Professional Officer Program, the UN Volunteers, consultancies, lots of opportunities for you to join us here at the UN through an international career. And then to expand on our topic, you will hear a special fireside conversation with some of our staff, and particularly a special guest, Mr. Hong Kwon, who will give you an inside look at the recruitment journey and what it's like to really work for the UN today. So please stick around for that section at the end. And also feel free to leave your questions in the chat. If you haven't sent us one when you registered, now's your chance. We will leave some room for Q&A. So anything that you would like us to answer, please do go ahead and use that chat. So without further ado, let's get started, since we do have a busy agenda. And in order to give us an overview of the UN careers entry points in the UN Secretariat in general, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Pina Ruth, and I'll let her take over from here. Over to you, Pina.
Thank you very much, Christina. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you around the globe. It's such a pleasure to be here and to speak to all of you today. As Christina mentioned, my name is Pina Ruth. I work as a team lead in the strategic talent acquisition and strategic talent outreach for greater talent diversity. And I would like to talk to you a little bit more about an overview of the global UN Secretariat. The UN Secretariat carries out the day-to-day of the UN as mandated by the General Assembly and the organization's other main organs in the area of peacekeeping, human rights, humanitarian affairs, climate change, and economic and social development. The world looks to our organization for solutions to global problems, and our organization is unique. Our people come from 193 member states and work for hundreds of departments and duty stations around the globe. This means that we, by definition, work in multicultural teams alongside people from all professional backgrounds who have varying perspectives, experiences, approaches, and expectations. Ours is among the very few organizations in the world that are diverse by design and default. Our people are our greatest assets. To that end, the diversity and complexity of the UN presence and mandates must be matched by a diverse, geographically balanced, gender balanced, international and multi-talented workforce that also visibly demonstrates our core values, has a modeling impact on the communities it serves, and reapes the gains in efficiency, productivity, and innovation from the diversity of the world. Realizing such a workforce enhances the organization's ability to reflect diverse viewpoints in implementing and meeting its mandates, and to gear up to a decade of action and delivering for sustainable development by 2030. Therefore, the UN Secretariat Office of Human Resources manages diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in areas including but not limited to a greater geographical representation, gender identity and representation, disability, anti-racism, youth, multilingualism, mental health, and so forth. On the next slide, I would like to give you an overview of the variety of the different jobs and contract modalities that we offer at the United Nations. The jobs at the UN are organized in what we call job families. You see them listed here on the right. They vary from jobs in the political, peace, and humanitarian family to jobs in management and administration or information technology family. As any large organization, the UN offers jobs in so many different areas of expertise. There are a variety of different contract modalities available at the UN Secretariat, which you can see listed on the left side. You may choose among them depending on your experience and also your personal needs. Some may be more applicable than others. Of course, there are regular job openings at the UN as everywhere else, but the UN has also temporary job openings, which are often more flexible and rapid tracks to get your foot in the door, as we say at the UN. As we continue our presentation, I just would like to also tell you a little bit more about the workforce capabilities. On the next slide, you see them listed. These are workforce capabilities that the United Nations would like to strengthen. The urgency to come together to fulfill the promise of the United Nations has rarely been greater. Over its 75 years, the family of the UN organization has been capable of enormous adaptation and innovation. To continue to address the ever more complex and interconnected challenges of our times, we will need to strengthen those capabilities you see here for the entire workforce. This is with regards to become more nimble and effective. And for that, we developed and scale new capabilities that promote agility, integration, and cohesion across the UN family. This will be part of a wider transformation in methods and practices, work practices towards United Nations 2.0, as we call it, which will offer more relevant system-wide solutions to 21st century challenges. As we continue our presentations, we will now walk you through some of the contract modalities that you have seen in the previous slides and introduce them to you. My colleague and our intern in our section, Xingjing, will now introduce you to the internship program. Xingjing, over to you.
Thank you very much, Pina. I applied because my background is in medicine. I'm a physician from India, and working in the medical services division at the United Nations was a very intriguing opportunity for me.
I applied to an internship at the United Nations because it's always been a dream of mine, and one of my aspirations is actually to work within politics in some kind of capacity, so this was a good start.
I want to work at international organization, non-profit, and social enterprise, utilizing the skill set I learned here.
On a daily basis, I actually work on data analysis and data visualization on Power BI, which is a very powerful tool that I've learned in United Nations. I also work on updating our new intranet with web pages.
I applied because I always wanted to work at the international organization, and I've graduated this May. from my university, so I wanted to gain useful experience working with international law and investment law.
I'm the graphic design intern, so my tasks range from creating graphics for the human resources portal or creating brochures. I wanted to gain more experience and work with an organization that helps so many people.
My job is more about like cost-benefit analysis to help like UN staff to work more efficiently and effectively. Yes.
From my time at United Nations, I learned that it is up to myself to decide what I can and cannot achieve. My advice for future candidate would be don't wait out. Have a purpose for your time at the United Nations. Always know why you started out at the United Nations and why you're involved in a project you're involved in. And don't be afraid to reach out to people. People at the United Nations were once in your shoes and they're always willing to help you out.
आओ हमारे साथ काम करो.
和我们一起工作。
Trabajen con nosotros.
Работайте с нами.
Work with us.
一緒に働きましょう。
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jingjing, and I'm very happy to share this part with you today. I'm an intern with the Staffing, Diversity, and Outreach section in the Office of Human Resources. I'm from China, and I graduated from the University of Toronto in Economics and Statistics with bachelor's degree. And actually, it's a very wonderful video. And in the video, they share lots of their experience when they intern in UN. So when you are searching for the opportunity of internship online, you could find different job positions like graphic design, human resources, and some other positions. So you do not actually need to be in one field to get an internship. And for the application period, it depends on division. Sometimes you will fill them quicker and sometimes it's slower, but it will take at least 2 months. So don't give up when you even don't hear back from your organization in 2 months, especially when you figure out that this is what you really want to do. Just hold on it and never give up. And the internship starting dates and availability are agreed to by the intern and the hiring manager. So it's not identical for each item. And in terms of the actual requirements, first of all, your academic grades need to be good, but the organization looks for well-rounded individuals. So extracurricular activities are helpful as well. And also being fluent in English is required, and any other official UN languages like Chinese, French, Arabic, Russian, and Spanish are also considered as an asset and can go a long way to make your application stand out. You could find this UN internship opportunity at careers.un.org, but don't just apply for one, apply for many, and then you can increase the chances of being selected. And for the type of internship, you could do it online or in person. And after COVID, we started to have the online internship. And the good thing about this internship is that you will be issued with a UN certificate, which will help you to start up your career in the United Nations or in the international sectors, and it could be an asset for your future career path. And as I mentioned, the internships have different eligibility criteria, and again, it depends on the different internship program, but most of them are full-time. However, recently we have added the part-time, and also that's a thing you could discuss and communicate with your hiring manager. You are also required to be in your last year of your studies to be selected, for example, like the final year of your bachelor's degree or beyond. Please also note that the completion of the internship is not directly linked to employment at the UN. And in terms of the duration, the minimum time range for an internship is 2 months, but it can be extended up to 6 months. The most contentious note is that the internship with the United Nations Secretariat is unpaid, but please know that the UN Secretariat is working on this. So in the meantime, I still recommend you to apply for it and try it, since the experience you gain from this internship is so worthy. So it's so worthy, and just come to join us to make a difference to this world and make the world better. And in particular, I encourage you to search the job opening. The number you can see in the top right-hand corner of the slide. If you're interested in applying to work with us, this wonderful and great team here. And if the internship program do not apply to you, there are a number of other options available for you to join the UN. And one of this is the UN Young Professional Program. And I will pass it to my colleague Mahmoud to tell you more about that. Thank you so much.
Apologies, Mahmoud. May I ask you to come in for the YPP section? Mahmoud might be having some connection difficulties.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead,
Mahmoud. Great. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and sorry for this technical issue. First of all, it's my honor to be with you today, and thank you so much for your time being here with us. I'm happy to talk today about the YPP program, since I am myself joined the United Nations throughout this great program. And thank you for Jinjin. And I would like to mention that myself also was an intern, and it was an essential and important step in my career path to the United Nations. Before we start with the YPP process overview, I do want to note that the YPP is one of the unique programs, and that it's open to only nationals from an underrepresented member state in the United Nations. And there is an age limit. Just want to set the stage and emphasize that this is a specific program with some additional criteria that you wouldn't find in a regular job openings at the United Nations. The reasoning behind this additional criteria is simple. The YPP was designed as a program to improve the geographical representation at the United Nations Secretariat by inviting candidates only from nationality which are an and underrepresented, and to reinvigorate the workforce with youth by inviting only candidates under a certain age. Now let's go over this eligibility criteria in the next slide. So eligibility criteria, this is one of the most pertinent information for you as potential applicants. There are 4 basic eligibility criteria. First of all, only nationals from an and underrepresented member states can apply to the Young Professional Program. For example, for the 2022-2023 exams, there are 60 participating countries that you will find listed online on the career /YPP. Second, only individuals that are 32 years old and younger are able to participate. Like I mentioned, this program was introduced as a way to regenerate the workforce of the United Nations and to help improve geographical representation balance. So that's really where the nationality and age criteria come in, as those are specifically the mandate of the YPP. And then we have education. A first-level university degree in an area that is relevant to the exam. So what's referring to is each year there are different subject areas that are included in the exams. And in the job opening information online, you will see the main courses of study that are accepted for the exam. So you can cross-reference your expected university degree with the list of those that are accepted for the YPP this year. And then the language. Fluency in either English or French is the final eligibility criteria. Please indicate fluency in either one of those when you apply in Inspira. Otherwise, your application will be unfortunately not be considered. Lastly, I just want to point out as a takeaway here, there are no previous experience required for the YPP. So it's different from the other professional level job openings that you might find in the UN. In that, it only requires a first level degree and no other work experience is required. But there are additional age and nationality requirements. The next slide, please. Here we have now an overview of the YPP process. From the application stage, where you will read about the program in our career website, determine your eligibility, apply in Inspira, and wait for your application to be screened. Next is an assessment stage, which includes online exam and a virtual interview. Candidates that are invited to the assessment stage will receive resources like reading materials, early access to testing platform, sample questions, things like that to give candidates an opportunity to prepare themselves. Please keep in mind that the United Nations does not charge any fees at any point or of the YPP process. Be aware of for-the-profit organization or profit companies out there offering services related to the YPP that are not supported or endorsed by the United Nations organization. Finally, a note about the roster stage. Success in the YPP is different from success in applying to a traditional job opening. Those that are successful in the YPP process are placed on a roster of successful candidates that is then used to fill vacancies over the course of 3 years. So it's not applied to YPP and be placed immediately in a job opening. This is more about investing in your future career at the United Nations and to keep the door open to be able to take on professional level in the United Nations. For the year 2023 YPP updates and next steps, please check back on our career.un.org/YPP for important updates. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platform on Facebook and Twitter, UN Careers. This year, 2023 examination area will be announced soon. So as the YPP roster are valid for 3 years, we looked back to the exam that took place 3 years prior. So we would expect this year that it will be, the exam area will be in economic affairs and information system and technology. That's all from on my side about the YPP program. And please don't hesitate to ask any question you have in mind that I haven't addressed or clearly explained in my presentation. Thank you so much for your listening. And then I will hand over to my colleague, Bashair. She is from Saudi Arabia, and she is happy to talk with you about the GPO program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Hi, everyone, and good morning from New York. My name is Bashair. I'm a junior professional officer from Saudi Arabia. I will talk about the GPO program. The main goal of this program is to support the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and to offer young professionals an opportunity to get an experience in multilateral international cooperation at the United Nations. In order to apply for the GBO program, you will need to have a master's degree with at least 2 years of relevant work experience, or a bachelor's degree with a minimum 4 years of work experience. English is required as the primary working language in the United Nations. Having a second language or more in any of the UN official languages is a great plus. And the ages of applications vary by the donor country. Current GBOs are mostly around 30 years old. It's also good to mention that some donor countries that you can see on the screen sponsor other young professionals from developing countries. I encourage you to visit the link at the bottom of the slides to learn more about the GBO program. Next slide. To start the application process, you need to check with your own government. Each country has a different way to announce vacancies. A good place to start may be the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in your country. If you are eligible to apply for the GBO program, you will need to submit the UN Personal History Profile, or P11, which is a form of a CV that simply shows your educational background, work history, and other information. Also, a cover letter to describe your career goals and how they align with the position you are applying for, and all of that. The selection process, sometimes the pre-selection of candidates is the responsibility of the donor country. The final selection decision and hiring are made by the respective UN receiving offices. Normally, the hiring process takes 3 to 6 months. The GBO program provides the possibility to join an entry-level position, most often P2 level. Also, GBOs receive the same allowance, benefit, and salary as internationally recruited UN staff members. Most donor countries sponsor up to 2 years, but some countries have the flexibility to extend the GBO period. Again, I encourage you to visit the link on the screen to learn more about the GBO program. Thank you so much, and over to you, Sergey.
Thanks, Bashir. My name is Serge. I am an intern with the section, and I'm going to briefly cover 2 more pathways into the UN. The first one's UN volunteers, and the second one is the consultancies. Briefly on the UN volunteers, the program was created by the General Assembly in 1971, and it has a wide variety of comprehensive benefits packages. However, there's different types of UN volunteers. For instance, the one most favorable to the audience here would be perhaps university volunteers or even youth volunteers, who range between 18 and 26, have the less required work experience, and have relatively shorter assignment dates. As you progress further, the dates increase, but also the age requirement increases, and so does, of course, the work experience. The other one is the consultancies. This is essentially working as a consultant with the UN on short duration. This can be about 24 months. And the UN hires recognized authorities, specialists in fields. So it can be anything from IT to HR. And they perform a results-oriented function, analyzing problems, preparing documents, writing reports. And we encourage you to check out the consultant roster at that link below. I will now hand it back over to Christina, who will take it from here.
Thank you very, very much, Serge. And thank you to all of our wonderful, wonderful team here today who has shared some opportunities with you all to enter the UN system through a career with the UN Secretariat. And now we'll move into that second part of our conversation today that I mentioned sticking around for. And it's a special fireside chat with Hong Kwon, who we have here live. I'll ask him to unmute and maybe come on camera so that we can see while I introduce Hong to you. So we have Hong, the Chief of the Strategic Talent Management Service in the Office of Human Resources, of course, at the UN Secretariat in New York. So Hong leads in designing, communicating, and implementing global talent management strategies. He previously worked as the Chief of Staffing in the UN Secretariat, and his main achievements included the implementation of an entirely new staff selection and managed mobility framework and an online assessment, and also contributing to the UN system gender parity strategy. Really important work that we hope to hear a lot more from Hong on. And maybe we can take down the slides now, so that way we can chat with our special guest. Let's see, without further ado here, Hong, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to start maybe with an obvious question, and just ask you if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your career journey. Maybe turning the tables on you and interviewing you for what.
Right, no, thank you, Christina, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, where you are. Glad to be here, and pleased to meet you on the screen. And yeah, just to sort of explain my career journey a little bit. Again, my name is Hong Kwan. I'm the Chief of Strategic Talent Management Service in the Office of Human Resources. I have been in the UN now for over 28 years. Feel old a little bit, but my heart is still young. I hope. I started in the UN after passing the National Competitive Recruitment Examinations, currently YPP Young Professionals Program, and I started my UN career in the Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific in Bangkok, Thailand. Actually, I started in the substantive area, transport and infrastructure development. My major was management with finance, so I oversaw a number of projects relating to the transport and infrastructure development area in the region. And then I was there for 4 years, and I moved to New York, and that's when I started my career in human resources management. Until 2017, I worked in the Office of Human Resources Management in the Secretariat, covering various facets of human resources management, starting with compensation, and moved to HR planning, monitoring and reporting, also recruitment, assessment and tests, and also supporting director and assistant secretary general in the front office. And then in 2017, moved to UNESCO in Paris. I'm sure many of you have heard about the organization. It's one of the specialized agencies in the UN Common System, dealing with education, science, culture, and information and humanity. I was there for 2 years as the director of HR. It was a very rewarding and learning experience. In terms of learning experience, over sort of 20 years of career, I think I learned new things every day. Just want to mention that. And then I came back to the Secretariat in 2019 summer, and then since then have been responsible for the development and implementation of strategies pertaining to strategic workforce planning, diversity, equity, inclusion, outreach, performance management, career development, and learning and development, which are components of talent management. So that's a sort of a quick synopsis of my career. I look up, whenever I come to the building, to the office, I look up the UN building and just remind myself that I work for the purpose of the UN and contributing to the objectives of the UN. So.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Thank you. Such a wealth of expertise you bring to our conversation today. Thank you for being here. And it's true, walking into the building, I have the same sort of feeling come over. It's sort of as if the mission is ingrained into our office space even, and the coworkers around us all truly believe in the important work that we're doing. So I can relate, definitely.
Yep.
That's wonderful. I'm wondering if maybe our team that you've already heard from, if they have any questions from you and they would like to ask. Maybe we'll start with you, Mahmoud.
Yeah, I have also a question for Hunk. I think that our audience is very interested in hearing more about what's like to work in the United Nations in a professional environment. For me personally, I was so surprised when I joined the United Nations to discover the diversity of backgrounds of the staff here. Like most people, I thought the main background for any UN staff is international affairs. But since then I joined the United Nations, I realized that this is not true. The UN is always recruiting professionals with various expertise in fields like economics, finance, engineering, data science, IT, technology, and so much more. My question, can you tell us a little bit more about the type of work you do now in your field? Thank you.
Thank you, Mahmoud, for the question. Yes, I mean, the UN secretariat that we work in, it is a big organization. We do have about 36,000 staff all over the world. They come from various backgrounds. We do have about 20 countries that are not, well, actually, I take it back. We do have 193 nationals represented in the secretariat. So, we work with, colleagues from different backgrounds, different religion, different ethnicity, different culture, and also different languages. It is such a rewarding experience, knowing that I have the opportunity to interact with such diverse groups of colleagues on a daily basis. And, even on this screen, right? We are from different countries. By the way, I'm from the Republic of Korea. It's a UN term of South Korea, official name of South Korea. And it is such a privileged, opportunity that, we have that opportunity. And also, yes, as Mahmoud said, the UN is not only about peacekeeping or humanitarian affairs or political affairs, international affairs, or human rights. We do have the various the functions and jobs in the secretariat. Engineering, we have nurse, we have medical doctors, we have statisticians, we have human resources, accountants, lawyers, logistics, supply chains, IT. We do have a huge department in IT. So we have the wide range of the functions and jobs. So it's not only about those sort of the main pillars of the work that the UN does. So yeah, it's again, it's knowing that, and also working with such sort of diverse group of people with diverse specializations and expertise, you learn every day. About 20 years ago, sort of, who knew that we have such sort of conflicts around the world, right? And back in, I don't know, sort of when IT and the whole internet started, I think many of us would have thought that, okay, after 2000, by 2020, we, will have eradicated all world conflicts, but we do have many world conflicts, and I hope that after another 20 years, many of these conflicts would go away, but the reality may be that we will still face a lot of conflicts. So the world, needs us, the UN, and we need people with passion. We need people who share the objectives of the UN. And as I mentioned, sort of reminding ourselves and motivating ourselves every day that we contribute to the purpose of the UN on a sort of daily basis. So I'll stop here. I'm sure you have other follow-up questions. So
thank you so much, Hong. Yes, we do have a ton of questions for you. And maybe not enough time. So I think we have Fabiana next with a question for you. Fabiana, you haven't heard from live, but you definitely have heard from in the YouTube chat. So welcome, Fabiana. Go ahead.
Good morning, Hong. Good morning, all of our audiences. Yes, I have been very active answering questions in the chat. Thanks, my colleagues, for providing the answers. And my question this morning for Hong is, how does your work connect to the UN Sustainable Development Goals?
The Sustainable Development Goals?
Yes.
Okay. It's a good question. Working in human resources management, we don't work on the ground, dealing directly with peacekeeping, again, providing humanitarian aids, working on human rights. However, we do support colleagues who are doing the work on the ground, who also interact with people on the ground, helping them directly. We come up with strategies, policies that support our colleagues who are directly involved in such work, including sustainable development goals. So, while we do not directly work on education, poverty, water, sanitation, that are included, climate change, that are included in the Sustainable Development Goals, we work with and we support colleagues who are involved directly in working on 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So I believe our work in human resources is very much relevant and connected to the Sustainable Development Goals. I hope I answered the question.
I do, yeah, I do see that. Fabiana, what do you think? I do as well, because we have to choose the right people to work on all of these priorities, right?
Exactly, yeah. So also, talent acquisition is also a big part of our work, reaching out to potential candidates who would be interested in working for Sustainable Development Goals, for example, as part of the UN. So, today's live stream is part of that efforts, and it's important that we recruit qualified candidates, again, with the passion and sharing the objectives of the UN.
Definitely, yes. Well said. I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions. Maybe I'll call on Serge for now to ask his question. Everybody wants a quick chance. Go ahead.
Christina. Morning, Hong. Yeah, perhaps since you've been around at the UN for such a long period of time, what are any tips you would have for applying now that you on the inside for a long time, and compared to when you first started?
Mm-hmm. No, thanks for the question. Speaking of myself, actually, I started having the dream of working for an international organization when I was in Africa. I finished my high school in Korea and I moved to Africa, Kenya, Nairobi, and I was there for 2 years and started my university study there. That's when I started having a dream of one day, I want to work for an international organization, because I witnessed sort of firsthand the work and contributions that United Nations made to the lives of people and welfare of people, and also the peace, of the world. And I think it's important to have that dream and passion, right? I want to contribute to the objectives of the UN. I want to, contribute to the improving the lives of the people around the globe. As I mentioned, we will continue to have, the problems, challenges, and conflicts around the world, and having that motivation that I want to contribute to solving these world problems. I think that having that passion and dream is important. And also, I think it's important to sort of look at what the UN does. UN Secretariat is one organization. There are many UN organizations specializing in different areas, right? I mentioned about UNESCO. Children, we have UNICEF. Health, we have WHO. We have food, WFP, dealing with the problems on food. So I encourage people to, do a sort of, good research on what different UN organizations do. And if you're interested in working for, one of them, just cast a wide, net, not just focusing on one organization and, one area. As I mentioned, we have the wide range of, jobs and work in different functions. So, try to look at what the UN system does overall and try to, cast a wide net. And also, and, you apply for jobs and, I'm sure you will, fail many times. And, I think many of us, I think all of us went through that challenge. But it's important to be, I say 3 Ps: patient, persistent, and persevere. Don't give up, even if you fail, a few times. Because I think, when your passion and motivation are strong, I think, you can be persistent, you can be patient, and you can persevere, difficulties and, sort of, the failures. I mean, they are not failures, but, we sometimes perceive them as failures. So it's important to, keep hope and be patient, persistent, and persevering. That's what I would say.
Thank you. And I bet some of our interns listening today that are applying for full-time positions now really use that advice, right? Perseverance. That's great. So I think we have time maybe for one more question. I would like to maybe ask Pina to ask hers. Go ahead, Pina.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, Hong.
Hi.
So what are your thoughts that you could share with us on the future of the UN that you would like to maybe also share with our audience from all over the globe today? When you think of our workforce capabilities, or maybe opportunities rather, for our audience, which one do you expect to be particularly strengthened, maybe in your area of expertise?
As I mentioned, the UN will continue to exist, and there is a more emphasis on multilateralism to tackle various, as I mentioned, the world conflicts. We will continue to, work on peacekeeping. I mean, we hope there is no need for peacekeeping, but, as I mentioned, I think there will be. The reality is we will continue to work on human rights. We will continue to work on humanitarian affairs and, the various areas. Now, with the innovation, sort of, drastic evolvement of technology, innovation, artificial intelligence, I think the way that we perform such functions will also evolve quite a bit. We have come up with recently key workforce capabilities, including data analytics, management, innovation, behavioral science, partnerships, and various climate action, crisis management. These capabilities will be needed to be more effective and efficient in providing our services to the world. And as we all know, we tend to use more data in analyzing our workforce and the talent that we will need, and how we also attract such talent. So I think we will emphasize on acquiring these skills. So when we look for talent, we look for talent with specialized expertise, but at the same time, there's sort of wide range of key capabilities. So I think, the one thing that I would encourage our audience is to, explore opportunities to, learn and acquire, such capabilities and skills. Data analytics, there's so many online resources out there. Project management is also one, area, sort of, skill that we look for. This is across the functions, right? Not just one particular, functional job. Behavioral science is another, innovation, creativity, and also, artificial intelligence, and, machine learning and deep learning has now become a hot topic with the, chat GPT. So I think, acquiring, such skills would be very beneficial going forward in the UN. I hope I answered the question, Pina.
I hope everyone was listening to an inside view of what the skills and the capabilities are that we are looking to recruit for in the future, because that's a really good, really good summary you gave us there. And I think in the interest of time, let's see if we can wrap up our discussion. Unfortunately, we wish we could ask you all of our parting questions, but I think we have time for one more here. And I'll ask the whole team, maybe we can do a rapid round and go around the table to hear from everyone. Let's see if we can hear from everyone on why young people should even work for the UN. What's your biggest takeaway for those listening right now who are interested, and why should they go ahead and apply? We'll start with you, Hong, as our guest of honor.
As I said, the world needs you. Again, there are so many issues and challenges that we need to tackle around the world. And, we need people, young talent with the passion and motivation, who are willing to contribute to solving, world problems. So, in short, we need you. Yeah, I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I would echo that as well. And I think from the other side, from myself having worked here, my biggest takeaway would be just the meaning and the fulfillment one can find in this job. You're here, you're contributing to changing the lives of the people of the world for the better. So for me, it's really been also about experiencing deeply meaningful work in this really transformative intergovernmental organization. So the world needs me, but then I also get to find fulfillment in what I do here. And I also get to experience the world and its diversity of cultures and languages and perspectives that are all together in one office under one roof. So it's truly, truly an amazing thing for me. Let's see if my colleagues echo that or have any other perspectives to share. I don't know, Mahmoud or Pina or Serge?
Yeah, I think from my experience, I like the idea in the UN that you can discover many career paths in the United Nations. I was a YPP in the economic affairs, but I was recruited in the management area. So this kind of variety, like diplomacy, humanitarian work, public health, management, logistics, provide opportunity for individuals to test themselves and to pursue their passion and develop expertise in their chosen field, or to make a kind of career shift. So this is one of the things I really like about working in the United Nations.
That's wonderful. Yeah, there's a ton of mobility, geographical mobility. We have offices all around the world, like Pina mentioned at the beginning, and we also have opportunities to move fields. Yeah, that's a really good point, Mahmoud. Fabiana, what about you?
Well, Christina, I personally deeply believe in public good and public service. And previously, I worked in public service in my home country. So when it became time to further my career, the UN was the natural choice for me, as I believe it's the best organization for public servants who have an interest in an international career.
Well said, short and sweet. I love it. And very meaningful work, yes. Pina, what about you?
I would like to echo also, like Hong said, I do believe that to the complexity of our today's global challenges, there is only one answer, the answer of multilateral solutions. And hence, I really believe that it is critical to have young people participate and contribute to this multilateral work. And also, it's my observation that the UN has never been as diverse and as inclusive as it is today. And in order to strengthen that and maintain and strengthen that, we really need all voices on the table. Also to make progress of the work of the UN on the Sustainable Development Goals.
That's wonderful. What about you, Serge? Would you like to close us off with your biggest piece of advice or takeaway?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm still doing my master's. I'm about to finish, and I notice a lot of people my age at the school who are passionate in all sorts of fields about the work they do and passionate about making a difference, not just going out and doing your job. A sort of, having a role to play. And I don't know, I think this is one of the places, one of the organizations that this is very much the place where you can play your role, where you can make your change. So in all sorts of fields all over the world. So that would be my biggest takeaway.
Yes, that's very true. So I hope you all were really taking notes and listening for this wonderful session where we tried to share with you everything we know about recruitment at the UN, all of our tips and all of our motivational, sort of internal motivations as to why we work here and why we think it would be a wonderful place for you to work. At this time, I think I'll close us off. Serge, if you don't mind sharing one last slide for our audience. We have a QR code for you to stay connected with us by signing up for our talent pool, our UN Global Talent Pool. That's in the upper right-hand corner there. Of course, we encourage you to stay connected on social media as well. And we do have a feedback survey that we'll put in the chat. I'll ask a wonderful colleague Fabiana to put that in the chat, just so that you can let us know how we did today, if anything was missing, if you would like some follow-ups, we're here for you, and we will reach out to you with updates. For example, you heard about the YPP, but it will open in a few months. Please expect to hear from us at that time, because we do want to foster this connection with you and hear from you with an official application, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your interest in the organization. It's truly a wonderful experience to be here with you. And we do hope to hear from you soon. So thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone participating. I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.